Stampers, it's Kelly Acheson at astampabove.com coming to you from Menasha, Wisconsin. And I have a pretty cool card to share with you today. I needed some masculine birthday cards. Well, there were two reasons I made this. First of all, my daughter's boyfriend has a birthday next weekend. And so I needed a masculine birthday card. But also, I am doing a swap with this bundle called Balloon Adventures. And we have die cuts that match the stamp set and also the stamp set. And these are called the pop-up balloon pop-up thinlits, and Balloon Adventures. So I decided that I would share this card with you because I thought it was pretty cool. It's very unique and it incorporates the numbers from number of years. And I have used these for so many things. They look really small here on the front, but they're quite large. And I thought that was really cool to put the year on the front of the card. And I also like the masculine colors I chose with Old Olive and Pacific Point. So stick around and I'm going to give you some great tips and show you how I made this. Ta-da! I love things like this where you get a surprise on the inside. And then we also have a decorated envelope. So stick with me today and I'll show you some tips and tricks all about this. We're going to also touch on this stamp set, which is free during celebration. So let's get started and I'll show you how I made this. First thing I'm going to do here is bring in all my elements. I've got a card base of Pacific Point that is 5.5 by 8.5 folded in half. And then I've got Old Olive, which is 4 by 5.25. Whisper White, that is 3 3/4 by 5. And then the inside of my piece, which is 5 by 8, scored at 4. This is just a scrap for our balloon. And then I've got 2 pieces of the Designer Series paper called Party Animal. And this is some really fun birthday paper. These 2 pieces are 2 by 2 1/4. I've also got a piece of Baker's Twine, the Old Olive Baker's Twine, a scrap of Old Olive that's 1/4 inch wide, and we're going to cut it off, so it'll need to be 2 2 inches. So let's get started here. I have to say that this was one of the easier cards that I made this weekend, and I thought it turned out pretty spectacular. So I'm pretty happy with it. I'm pretty proud of myself. You know when you make something and you're like, oh wow, that's really cool. So I've got my Old Olive ink here, and then here's a great tip. I have put all of my numbers that I needed for the year 2017 on one block versus stamping them individually. You can line them up so nicely this way so you get them just perfect, just how you want them. And of course with the photopolymer stamps, you always want to make sure that you're using a piercing mat. Let me grab one that isn't covered. These are our piercing mats and they're in the big catalog. I'll put the number up on the screen for you, but these make your images stamp nicer. So I'm going to go about 1/2 inch from the bottom of my small Whisper White layer. And don't be alarmed that it looks like the images didn't stamp all the way. They are meant to look kind of, what do they call that? A brushstroke watercolor type look. So they're not meant to stamp real solid. Gives it kind of a vintage feel that I really like. Next, I'm going to come in with the Here's to Another Year Full of Adventures. Whoops. Hang on, people. I just stuck my finger in the ink pad and that'll get ink everywhere. I'm just using my black Memento ink pad for this image. Oops, that'll make my camera shake. Sorry about that. I'm really working on finding a new camera stand. I've just not been happy with anything that I've got here. Okay, and I'm going to stamp this so that the Adventures comes out. The word Adventures is at the very bottom of my layer. I just thought it looked best that way. Next, I'm going to bring in the Cheers. I thought that was appropriate. That Cheers is coming from the Reverse Words stamp set. This is one of the new celebration sets that you can get. Starting on February 21st, these are going to be available. There's 3 new products available, and this is one of them. I love the watercolor background on both of these images, and they're pretty large. This one's pretty big, so I think they add a lot to my card. So we're going to stamp up the cheers here. I have to apologize. Well, maybe I don't need to. I'm a stamper, so my fingers are really like full of color today, but I have been having a blast in my stamp studio. And you're going to get ink on you, right? I know when I come home from a stamp class or club, my husband always knows where I've been because I'm just covered with ink. So here's our cheers image, and isn't that cute? I just think it's really nice. And I am a fan of the watercolor backgrounds. Next, we're going to find our polka dot balloon. I'm going to stamp that in the Old Olive ink and put that on my Old Olive layer here. And then I'm going to grab my balloon punch. I should have put my balloon at the other end so I'm not wasting so much cardstock. So you guys can do it the right way if you decide to recreate this card, right? I've got our balloon. Got some great tips for using the baker's twine here. Taking and tying this baker's twine around this tiny little end can be so tedious, can't it? Here's my great tip for you. I take the baker's twine and I tie it in a little loop ahead of time. And now I'm going to bring it into my balloon, and I've got my knot on the back. Tighten it up and bam, you're done. It's so much easier than trying to futz with those tiny little things. I've been on a roll lately, showing tips to use tiny little things with. Okay, and here comes our balloon, and I'm going to put it just a little bit off the card because we've got 2 more layers that are going to go behind here. Don't forget my little trick for making your baker's twine twirl up. You just want to pull it like you're going to curl some ribbon, and that'll make it curl up and look super cute. Isn't that much cuter than just laying there flat hanging around? And if you watched my Wednesday tip video, you know what I'm going to do next. I've got some gold, or not gold, silver sequins here, and I'm going to pull 5 of them off. I made these little tacky sticks with a little bit of glue on the end, so if you didn't see that tip that was just up on Wednesday, please go check it out because it'll make your life with small items like these sequins or little gems so much easier. It's a great tip. I'm going to show you right now how I used it. We've got our little random sequins here. This will just pick up your sequins and push them right onto your paper. So again, on Wednesday, I had a wait what, take 24, showing you how I made my little tacky stick. We've got our sequins on there, and now we're just going to put our card together. Wasn't that easy? I'm just really surprised at how simple it was. We've got one more thing to do on the front here before we're done. And I really like these colors together. I like making masculine cards. A lot of people struggle with it. I need to make more of them because I'm running out now. But I don't know. I don't have any trouble making masculine cards. I really enjoy that. All right, where's my marker? I've got my Pacific Point marker here. I used the big end, and I colored in this outlined word, words, I should say, another year. It's a little harder to color when I'm filming than it was to make up all my swap cards. Because, you know, I don't have my head sticking over the card in the camera like I normally would. But our marker fits perfectly into these outlined words. So it makes it really easy to color them in. There we go. Doesn't that just do it for you? All right, now, let me get this cleaned up a little bit so we can do the inside of our card. This is the die that I'm going to use, and again, This comes in the balloon pop-up Thinlits dies. So I'm going to use this big die, and I'm going to use it on this bigger piece of Whisper White. Remember, this was 5 by 8, and I scored it in the middle at 4 inches. And here's the ticket. You see this little triangle down here, and then you have a half a balloon? You're going to line this up so you can see that score line, and it lines up with the edge of this balloon all the way down the edge here and also in this triangle. So I am going to get that centered on here. So it's centered this way, and then it's lined up with the score line. I'm going to run this through my Big Shot, and I'll be right back. This is one of those dies that likes to snap and pop a lot, so don't be frightened by that. It's perfectly normal. And now, everything just pops right out of here. This is such a wonderful die. There we go. Look at that. Just got a couple little things there. And there's our cool pop-up for the inside of our card. Let me get this little piece out of there. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to stamp this first before we do anything else. And as long as we're stamping, I am going to do my envelope also. So I've got my old olive ink and the polka dot balloons. I'm going to stamp that right over top of the balloons that are here. And then we've got this little banner, and I'm going to use my Pacific Point for that. Line that up right on here. Here's my words. It says, "The best is yet to come." And that fits right in this little banner area. And I'm going to do my balloon on my envelope. The string. I was doing most of my strings with that little tail at the bottom, but I thought, how cute is it to make that tail go right across the end of the, so it looks like it's the little piece that would have been tied. You know what I mean? That was a nifty idea. And now, where's the rest of my, here we go. I like this for my envelopes. This is a cute saying. And mind you, other than the 2017, all of these stamps are in that stamp set, Balloon Adventures. Open me already. Cute, right? Okay, we are done with the ink. Now we're going to assemble our card. And this is another little thing that's a little important. When you go to fold your card, you're going to fold up with your balloon. There's also your little score line right there on your balloon string right here. You're going to fold that over. You're going to do this all very gently. Fold right over. And then your die, this die made score marks right on the edge of your cutout image. So you're going to kind of hang on to that and push that over. I'm going to burnish that good. And then we're going to do the other one right on the score line on this side. And now I'm going to take this and fold it like this and give it a good burnishing. There we go. We're ready to insert in our card. Let's see. We want to put our little panels on first here. And remember, these are 2 inches by 2 1/4. So I'm just going to slide those right in here. I just thought this was a neat way to decorate up my card. It matched my color theme. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue right here. Maybe. Come on. There we go. And this was the easiest way for me to do this. You can cut this at 2 inches if you want. That's, you know, do whatever you need to do, but I just found it easier to do it this way. Take my paper snips, trim that off. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Maybe. Ever have those days where you're like dropping everything? I haven't made a complete mess out of anything yet. Knock on wood, right? Oh, it's coming. And I like to kind of push my cardstock up so I can see that it's going to be lined up with the edges. And then we've got one more strip right here that finishes off. I just think it really finishes the edges on this and balances the color out a little bit. I'm going to cut this right from the other side. And now we're going to insert this in our card. So here's the easiest way that I've found to do this. You're going to fold this up. You might find too that you need to press this down again after you get those panels of paper on the designer series paper so that everything will lay flat. And I took this and I put it right about like that. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't pulling it out too far. So you're going to just do that one side, and now we're going to fold that closed and close our card to make sure that it lines up perfectly in there. Ta-da! Isn't that cool? I love this card. I think it was so easy. I love that it's got the year on the front. I'm super happy with it, and I think my daughter's boyfriend is going to love it too. If you need some of these stamping supplies, please consider hopping on my blog, www.astampabove.com. You'll find an online store button on the right-hand side where you can go right to my Stampin' Up! Store. I'll also have all the dimensions listed on my blog and more photos and details of all the products that I've used here and how you can get them. If you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would love to earn your business. You can also pop me an email if you don't have our current catalogs. I'd be happy to send them to you. My email address is kelly@astampabove.com. One last thing before I go. Down here in the bottom corner of your screen is a subscribe button. Click on that button and that'll subscribe you to my YouTube channel where you'll be sure not to miss anything that I have coming up. Add a little sparkle to someone's day and send them a card.